morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, I'd like to play this video clip that has been taking the rounds on my social media. I believe this is talking to the same issue of why Zimbabwe, for instance, is a failed state, and to the reason why we are a failed state. We have failed to govern ourselves. So this issue is being approached from different routes. It doesn't matter which angle you come from, you still come to the same conclusion. We have failed to govern ourselves. So just quickly listen to the video.
Black politicians dancing to the tune of white elites. The rot runs deeper. Black people sitting comfortably in government offices, holding management positions, are as complicit as any oppressor in perpetuating the suffering of their own communities. They occupy the seats of power that should be engines of liberation, yet they behave like gatekeepers, making sure the door to economic opportunity remains shut for the majority. Look at the municipalities riddled with inefficiency, mismanagement, and outright corruption. How many Black managers in those departments have used their positions to empower Black-owned businesses? How many have fought to create job opportunities for the millions of unemployed youth roaming the streets? Instead, we hear of tenders handed to their cronies, often at inflated prices, while genuine entrepreneurs are excluded from the system unless they can grease palms or bend the knee. Black government officials should be architects of change, but instead, they have become wardens in a prison of economic stagnation. Policies that could uplift Black businesses are buried under layers of red tape. Permits take months, sometimes years, to be processed. Regulations are weaponized to crush small enterprises that can't afford the bribes demanded to move paperwork along. These officials are not merely neglecting their duty, they are actively suffocating Black progress. For every white CEO maintaining the status quo, there's a Black bureaucrat ensuring it remains unchallenged. They sit on committees, make decisions about funding, and distribute resources meant for the upliftment of the poor, yet their actions serve only to widen the gap between the elite and the struggling masses. They are the ones who approve deals that allow foreign companies to exploit local resources, while Black-owned companies are denied access. They are the ones who neglect township schools, ensuring the cycle of poverty continues unbroken. Perhaps the most egregious betrayal lies in the way they treat Black businesses that do manage to rise despite the odds. Instead of nurturing these businesses, they impose crippling taxes and fines. Instead of clearing the path for growth, they block it at every turn. The same government that claims to champion Black empowerment is the one that makes it nearly impossible for Black businesses to survive, let alone thrive. These individuals, who look like us and come from the same backgrounds of struggle and oppression, have now become the foot soldiers of a system designed to keep us in chains. Their allegiance is not to the people they claim to serve, but to their bank accounts and the political masters who reward their obedience. How different are they really from the apartheid bureaucrats who once wielded the same power to oppress? It's not just incompetence, it's betrayal. While communities starve, Black officials dine at the same tables as the elites they pretend to oppose. While young people remain locked out of the economy, these officials drive luxury cars and live in gated estates, far removed from the suffering they perpetuate. They have become the new face of oppression, smiling and speaking the language of liberation while tightening the noose around our necks. The truth is, we don't just need to dismantle white economic dominance or political capture. We need to confront the Black gatekeepers who enable it. Their betrayal is far more painful, far more personal, and far more damaging because it comes from within.
I'll stop it right there. I think we can split this discussion into identifying Zanu PF and their role in creating economic poverty and political oppression in Zimbabwe. And then talk about the opposition, and then the ordinary people themselves, how we have become part of the problem ourselves. Ben, welcome to the program. Which one do you want to tackle first?
Good day. Thank you for having me on the program. Let's start with the obvious, where I think everybody knows when it comes to Zanu PF. They have made it clear that they will not want any prosperity amongst the people, lest they lose popularity and our dependence on them. So that's what we are living in Zimbabwe. They have now with Zanu PF, they are gatekeepers, yes, but they have locked us outside, and they have made sure that we are always dependent on them at every turn.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you more there. The truth of the matter is, Zanu PF, ever since the country's independence, has never, ever trusted the ordinary Zimbabweans to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. Indeed, the regime has deliberately kept, particularly the rural people, poor, to further its own political ends. People have often said that the rural areas are Zanu PF strongholds. There is something wrong there. If you look at the rural people, they are the poorest of the poor. And it is naive to think that those people do not see that Zanu PF has kept them poor. Of course they say it. The truth is, the regime has such a stranglehold on the rural people. Zanu PF has, the rural areas have remained Zanu PF strongholds for the simple reason that the rural poor have been kept no more than serfs in the medieval times. They are all beholden to the Zanu PF ruling elite and their proxies on the ground, the traditional leaders, the war veterans, and the usual boisterous Zanu PF militia, the Blue Bombers. Here is Margaret Dongo speaking to that very issue.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
Zanu PF has politically and economically kept the rural people poor. Here is Mnangagwa standing in one of his farms. while Zanu PF has stubbornly refused to give the rural people cattle deeds to even a few acres on which their homesteads stand, the ruling elite have given themselves title deeds to vast farms. The late dictator Robert Mugabe's daughter, Bona, when she was going through the divorce process with her husband, it was revealed that she has got farms, so many of them, that when you add up the land mass, is bigger than Lesotho, a country. And yet the same people are denying people in the rural area title deeds to just a few acres. This is the reality. They are the gatekeepers. Zanu PF have become the gatekeepers of economic empowerment of the majority of our people, of political empowerment of the majority of our people. But then we've got also to address why have we failed to end the Zanu PF dictatorship in 44 years of independence?
Yes, that's a very, very good question that really needs an answer. And my answer, yes, it may be, we may not agree to it, but I would want to say, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition has joined Zanu PF in making our lives miserable. They have joined Zanu PF in hoarding for themselves, in looting and filling up their own pockets. If you could listen to that, to that video, to that audio clip that we just played, and put every point and whatever was said is not happening in our town councils. Everything that was said is happening in our town councils. Town councils are run by, the opposition. Let us be clear on that. And they have made it impossible as well for anything meaningful for us citizens, to achieve or to accomplish. I will give you an example. Recently, we have had houses being bulldozed to the floor or to the ground. That was not done by Zanu PF. That was done by CCC councillors, members, mayors. So we need to start realizing that the opposition has completely failed and it has lost its mandate. It has lost its function. They have realized that for them to proceed, they have to start looting for themselves. This is why you find they are so eager to participate in rigged elections on the pretense that they are protecting liberated zones. They are no longer liberated zones because they have colonized those areas themselves, and they are looting from there. Our country is in a mess because of these two groups. And if we fail to see this, we can never ever be helped out of this situation.
I think I'll just come straight to the issue of the people themselves. The people themselves, the ordinary Zimbabweans, have to accept and to appreciate that the primary purpose of the MDC, ever since it was launched in 1999, was that they would deliver the democratic changes the nation needed to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. That is at the heart of our opposition. It is a pity that the people themselves have failed to grasp that very important and crucial and fundamental idea. Because if they did, by now the people themselves will be the one who are saying there's something that has gone terribly wrong here. Why is it that 24 years after MDC was launched, they failed to implement even one token democratic change? They had the opportunity to implement the reforms during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. They failed. If you can't understand that, then you should really accept that you don't know why you're voting for the opposition, because that is at the root of the reason why you were voting for the opposition. And a nation that cannot understand its problems will invariably repeat making the same mistake over and over again. Then you were referring there to people participating in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy, because they had been conned by the opposition to believe that the opposition would win big because we have plugged all the vote-taking loopholes. It speaks volumes that anyone should believe such a blatant lie. To start with, the citizen must realize that they have the right to a meaningful, free, fair, and credible election. And when they started voting for the opposition, it was to implement reforms to make sure that those rights were restored. And so when MDC failed to implement even one token reform, they changed tune. Now they're saying the opposition can win rigged elections. In other words, they're asking the people to accept that Zanu PF somehow has the right to rig elections, and they've got to make do with that reality. They've got to win rigged elections. This is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why we are our own gatekeepers now to our own political change and economic change. The only way, the only solution here is that as much as we would want to look to Zanu PF is happy with the status quo. As much as we would want to look to Chamisa and company, Chamisa is quite content with the status quo. Because yes, although he has not been able to get into power, him and his friends have nonetheless managed to get a few gravy train seats, and they've enjoyed some of those benefits, justifying them becoming the gatekeeper to keep Zanu PF in power, and meanwhile telling the people that we are going to deliver change. If there's going to be change, it is the people themselves who must address the problem that we are facing. It is the people themselves who must open their eyes and see the political and economic reality in the country and demand change. Ben, I don't know whether you want to say your final words there.
In closing, I would want to say, we cannot continue following blindly. I mean, the evidence is there. Surely we cannot say the evidence has not been presented to us. We can see on both political divide how these guys are prioritizing their own, and they are looting in front of us. It's not only Zanu PF. The opposition has realized that, we can get something out for ourselves here. Let us participate. The other opposition, they participated, other members of the opposition participated for Poland. The others have also, the Chamisa company, they have participated for seats, for, the monies that they get from participating, that they are fighting for currently. We can see the city council is in a mess. They will tell you there is no so of the looting. Inshona toti ukadziya moto wembavha uri mbavha. So if you cannot do that, then you are only perpetuating your own suffering. So as we go forward, going into 2028 elections, let us think, do we really have to participate in rigged elections or not? Because they will be rigged, come hell, come thunder. So it is up to us. Our destiny is in our own hands, not the opposition, not Zanu PF, because they need us to queue up in those lines, acting as if it is a democracy, yet it is not. The conclusion has already been done. The onus is on us to do due diligence for our own selves and our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I think this issue of failed or failure to govern ourselves is at the heart of our problem. As much as we would want to find other people to look elsewhere, to find people to blame why, for instance, Zimbabwe is poor, those people are exploiting a weakness that is already there. We, the people of Zimbabwe, from the ruling party to the opposition to the ordinary Zimbabwean out there, we have become our own worst enemy. And per se, the solution is within our power. We should learn where we've gone wrong, admit it to ourselves, and commit ourselves to change. Burying our heads in the sand is not going to get us out of this mess. That is the truth. Thank you very much, Ben, again. And those of you who were able to join us this evening, thank you very much. And you'll be able to join us again tomorrow, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.